We have covered many 80s movies already on the channel, but where does this one hold up? Let's find out in just a second, but before we jump right in, hit that like button, hit that notification bell, and now let's jump into all this Robocop bullshit. Let's go. So, Robocop, for me, is a movie that absolutely screams the term 80s. And what I mean by the term 80s, if you bang on any 80s movie, you'll see a common thread, sort of like over the top. Graphics aren't brilliant, but the stories are magnificent, and the stories would not come up in today's day and age. Because in today's day and age, in 2024, this movie would not be made simply for the fact that they wouldn't think of that. They'd be like, oh, what sounds good? Oh, an Indiana Jones sequel. Yeah, fuck it, why not? Another Terminator. Yeah, we need that. And then they go through the fucking sequels instead of creating something magnificent. And I'm not saying Robocop's magnificent. I think it's a good film. However, this idea would not have come around in 2024. Let's just put that out there right now. For me, I think Robocop is something that I was a bit like, not sure if I want to watch this film, because it felt before watching it like it would be a Terminator rip-off or a bootleg. However, it didn't come across that way at all. It felt fresh. Obviously, I think there were certain aspects of the film that got taken away from Terminator, like the walking and how the Robocop talks, feel Terminator-esque. However, it feels fresh enough to the part where you don't really notice. On the story, I feel the story was great. I liked the story, but the start of the story weren't fantastic. Starting off with that news thing didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But no, the main story arc about the film is Robocop, who was Murphy, gets killed by about 5 different criminals after starting his new job in Detroit, and we really don't get to see much character development of who Murphy is, which is the only downside to this film, because they rush straight into him becoming Robocop. But when he is Robocop, we're seeing he's fighting crime and everything like that, but then he has a dream where he finds out who the 5 people are that killed him and then hunts them down. That is basically the entire film. It's a bit more complicated than that in part, but that is the main story, and for me, that is a great story, but I don't think the development and the character development was that great. I think the action was brilliant, even for its time, but I do think it lacks a little bit of something. It feels a bit choppy, and what I mean by choppy is there's certain scenes within the movie where you think, just extend that little bit, then you're plucking on the heartstrings, or you're plucking on this type of emotion that you're wanting out of your fans, but they don't quite do that. And I think it lets it down a bit, because I wanted a bit of character development between Murphy and Anne Lewis, and that would have been a fantastic story to go down, of him and his partner being able to have a bit of character development, whether it be love or friendship, something that connects the two in a different manner to what we've seen in other 80s and other previous movies before. And that would have been great, but they didn't extend on that enough, and they didn't give those two enough airtime, because it seemed like as if those two were sort of paired together at the beginning. She ends up getting taken out, and then the 5 criminals end up dealing with Murphy. Murphy then gets recognised by Anne, and Robocop does not know who she is because he's had his brain wiped. Then it's suddenly like they're now weird friends after she saves him, and it's just very choppy, and then she helps him out in the end, and then we don't know if Anne's actually dead or not, and it just gets confusing at the end of the film where he's trapped under the girders and she saves him like twice. It's just a very weird relationship. I don't know if that's going to get exploited in Robocop 2 or 3. I haven't watched those ones yet, but to me, I think from that character development side of things, that could have been better in that instance. And also the instances of him then tracking down the criminals. But Boddicker, for me, was the perfect villain. He did a great job. But then they didn't have him as the main villain. They had this Dick Jones as the main villain, and I would have scrapped him completely, because they had all this weird political stuff going on where he was the chief of police, and that Robocop could not kill the chief of police. That comes out later on in the film, when he wants to go and arrest him, when he goes to capture Boddicker for the first time, he turns around and goes, actually, you need to arrest my boss as well, and basically drags him down with the ship. And he goes to go and do that, and then basically gets told that he can't arrest him because sort of like a program inside of him which stops him from arresting any superior officer above him, and which is a weird and wacky program to put in the character, but it made a lot of sense. But no, I think the actual story of that political side of stuff didn't really work for me. I would have preferred if Boddicker was the full-blown boss, because he didn't really feel like the full-blown boss by the end of the film, because then he was like, oh, we've defeated Boddicker, then he lifts up a girder, then it skips to a scene, this is what I mean by choppiness, he's outside the department, basically confronts him, shows him that he killed this other fella that nobody really cares about, and then he kills him. And it's like, what a weird ending to the film, but it just shows how weird and wacky Robocop is. Like I said, it screams of 80s, and if you haven't seen it, I would go and give it a watch. To summarise then, for me, I think that this movie is easily 7.6 out of 10 and a great film. Let me know down in the comments down below if you agree, disagree, you think it's a great film, you think it's a bad film, let us know, all that jazz down those comments down below. Also, if you haven't done so already, hit the like button, hit that notification bell, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and I shall see you fine folks in the next one. Laters.